Hey guys, it's Jessie and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to today's video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the worst books that I've read in 2022. So quite luckily for me, there aren't actually that many books that I could think of. I wanted to do the 10 worst books that I've read, but some of these aren't actually awful. I was quite lucky. I mean, to be fair, I had a lot of 4 and 3 star reads, but not too many 2 and 1 stars. So that's where this list comes from. And yeah, I'm basically going to be going from 10th to 1 in terms of like least bad to number 1 being the worst book that I read this year. I do have an honorary mention, which is Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo. This is a non-fiction book, so I didn't really want to put it on this list, but technically this is probably the most boring, dull book that I've read this year. I read it in a readathon, and yeah, it's about, it's an interesting topic to me. It's kind of more like human geography, aid in Africa, which is very interesting to me, but I personally do not like the writing. It was so dull and did not enjoy it at all. So that would be my worst one, but I didn't really want to include that because I thought I'm not like a non-fiction channel, so I would do the worst fiction books I read this year. So without further ado, I will just get straight into it really. I'm not going to be holding up the books because I'm home from uni and I have a lot of books under my bed at uni, in different places, like in piles somewhere, so I will try and hold up the books. I don't know whether I'm going to do a tier ranking or a just general ranking of the books that I read in 2022 for my overall kind of vibes. Let me know what you guys think, but it depends. If I do a tier ranking, I won't probably hold them up, but if I don't, if I do a regular kind of talkie rank, I will hold them up. But you might see that in that video if you're desperate for me to hold up books, but I will just pop in a picture of the cover on the screen. Anyway, so in 10th worst place, that's the last time I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it as if it's 10 to 1 now, but you guys know the gist. Also, this is a very controversial list, I can't lie. There are some really popular book topics on here, and then just kind of some random ones, some very popular authors. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for this, I can't lie, but these are my opinions, so don't hate me. Anyway, the 10th book we have on this list is You Have Arrived at Your Destination by Amor Towles. This is a short story from the Forward collection. This is not the only book from this collection on here, but another book in this collection I did rate 4 stars, so very varied. But this one had such a good premise. It's basically where it's obviously set in the future, where you can go to this kind of fertility lab where you can pick certain traits for your child, but it gets kind of more in depth than that. Basically they show you a bunch of different scenarios, like videos of your child's life, and then you can kind of pick which route they want to go down in terms of like likelihood they'll pick this career, likelihood they'll like have these types of relationships. So very, very specific, and it was going really, really well. And then in the last third, it just takes a weird turn. Certain like aspects are introduced and never really fully kind of developed upon. I feel like it could have done with another 10-20 pages, and it ends so abruptly, and it sounds like it's making a statement in the ending, but I looked it up because I didn't understand it, and basically no one else really understood it or thought that it was kind of making a statement in a good way. So yeah, it was just very kind of untapped potential, such a good idea, and that's kind of why it was so disappointing, because I just feel like it needed a lot more development and probably didn't really suit a short story. This definitely could have been more of a novella rather than a short story. Then in 9th place we had the first full-length book on this list, which is Point of Retreat by Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover's written some of my favourite books of all time. Reminds of Him, Ends With Us, love those books to death. Regretting You as well, love that. But Point of Retreat just did not hit for me. This is the second book in the Slam series, and I just felt like it was unnecessary. Obviously a romance book, a big miscommunication trope, and I just think certain problems were introduced just for the fact of having issues, and certain characters felt like certain new characters felt forced in, and I just didn't think it was necessary. I think Slammed should have been a standalone. I'm going to talk more about the series later. I just really didn't enjoy the second book, and I read it as part of my Reading Colleen Hoover books for a week video, so I talked more in depth about it there. But yeah, just didn't really love it, and didn't think it was really necessary to have as a book. Then in 8th place we have Dial A for Aunties, which is so popular, I know, but I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I just don't know whether it's the humour, it didn't hit for me. I didn't find it funny, and I think it's meant to be like a comedy. I found it cringy, and obviously it's like fiction, so it's not meant to be realistic, but it was just like so unrealistic. It was almost like, I don't know, it felt like a children's book in terms of like the hijinks that would happen, I guess is how I would describe it. The romance in this just really wasn't like a good part of this. Like I didn't really feel a connection for the romance. I wasn't really rooting for them. I don't think there was enough of them in this. And then also like a lot of the characters I found very annoying. I did not connect with any of the characters. The main girl I didn't really like that much. So overall I think it was a plot and character issue for me, which is basically the whole book, but I'd say more so characters than plot I had an issue with, just because I feel like if I'd connected with the characters it would have been better. But then again, if they'd have a good plot it probably would have been better too. So yeah, unpopular opinion, I really didn't like this one. And this next one is also extremely unpopular, like an unpopular controversial opinion, because this is well loved, and this is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is some people's like top 10 books of the year. I found it so dull. I thought that it was just so long, unnecessarily so. Took a random turn at the end, which was like unnecessary. The main love interest in this was horrific. He was just horrible. Like he was not a nice person. So I don't know whether I was meant to root for him. The main girl was okay. I really liked the kind of found family aspects in this, slash just family relations in this. That was kind of what brought back the book for me in terms of making it slightly more redeemable, because I did give this a 2 point something stars, I think. Maybe just 2 stars, I can't remember exactly. But overall I didn't despise it, but I did not like it. Very much did not like this book, and I don't know why it got so much hype. It's like a Grumpy Sunshine where the guy's just horrible, and yeah, did not like them at all. And yeah, I didn't like it. In 6th place we have the other book from the Forward series that's on this list, and that is Randomised by Andy Weir. I forgot to tell you kind of the plots of all the other one. I mean, Point of Retreat is a continuation of a story in the Slam series, like you're following the same couple. Diary of Aunties, basically this girl has accidentally killed someone, and then her and her aunties have to like disguise it whilst they're at a wedding, basically. And then Things Never Got Over is like small town Grumpy Sunshine romance, basically. Then Randomised basically is another book in the Forward collection. This is by Andy Weir, and I think he's wrote like Project Hail Mary, which has got such good reviews. But this was just dull. I read a review that just said that it seemed like there was not much effort put into this. This was basically just dull. Like it was about slot machines in the future, like kind of casinos, and like quantum mechanics or something like that. I don't know, I just found it boring. It was not very good, and that's kind of all I've got to say about it. It was just dull, and I was glad that it was only like 50 pages. Then another controversial one, because people love this. In 5th place, my 5th worst book of the year is A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. I did not enjoy this at all. I found both Kren and Rue incredibly cringe. Ren more than Crew. It was like basically insta love for them, even though they went from like hating each other for absolutely no reason, and then as soon as they talked they were in love. And it just felt like such a like 12-year-old relationship, and the writing wasn't good either. I didn't like it at all. There was a load of misogyny in this book, and a lot of internalized misogyny as well, and everyone says like it improves, but I don't actually think it really does. So yeah, I just felt this book was too long, too immature, very insta-lovey in the way that I don't like. Very not much like actual character development, I didn't think. So yeah, wasn't a fan of this one. And then in 4th place, another little bit controversial because this is a popular author, is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This is the first book in the Hot and Hammered series. The reason I'm rating this so low is because it was cringe. It was so cringy. The dialogue felt like it was like what a 12-year-old that's watched after then thinks that relationships are. They don't like argue, but it's just the dialogue between them. Travis, the main love interest, gave me the ick almost immediately. He constantly refers to the main girl Georgie as baby girl, and in like every other sentence. It's so bad. The sex scenes in here made me like laugh out loud, and that's obviously not the goal. And I thought Georgie, the main character, she was just so immature. I can't lie, this just felt like a very much a 12-year-old relationship again. Just so immature, did not like it at all. I thought it was ridiculous at some point, so yeah, not a fan. Then the 3rd worst book I read this year was again by J.L. Seegers. I read this, it's a short story. I read it in a readathon, my last readathon, and I didn't like it at all. This is basically a second chance kind of marriage reconciliation book, and there was basically no discussions of the issues within the marriage, barely. All they did was sleep together multiple times, and it's a short book, so I'd say about 50% of the book is them sleeping together. And I'm not like anti-spice, but normally I'll like breeze through it quite quickly. I won't sit and like read every word, and for me to like be breezing through this much, I was like, okay, well, when are we gonna talk? And there was like this insane chemistry between them that I did not feel. Same actually goes for the 2nd worst book, which is Love Her or Lose Her, the 2nd book book in the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. This is about a couple. Oh, I forgot to tell the plot again. Oh my god. Okay, Million Kisses in a Lifetime is like an enemies to lovers romance. Fix Her Up is, I don't even know, famous baseball star goes to his hometown and falls in love with a girl who's literally a clown for a living. Again, I just talked about Love Her or Lose Her is a marriage reconciliation story again, which normally I like. But again, they had this insane chemistry and they only slept together and they didn't speak for like the last few years of their marriage. And I just said in my review, I said I think it should have ended when she asked for a divorce in like the first chapter. There was no chemistry between these two. I couldn't feel it at all. It was basically the guy realizing like, oh, maybe I should actually appreciate my wife and speak to her instead of just like being a man and providing her the money. So yeah, did not like it at all. Hated both the characters, thought they should not be together, was not rooting for them, was probably more so rooting for them to break up. And yeah, it was just not good at all. Really, really like poor. Like again, it was, oh, what was it he was calling her? It was calling her something else. It wasn't baby girl. It was like a different one that was worse. Maybe it was like lover girl or something like that. I can't quite remember. But like it had another nickname that it was just bringing up all the time and it was so bad. And then the worst book that I read this year is This Girl by COLLEEN Hoover, which is the third book in the Slam series. The reason I didn't like this is basically it's Will and Laken talking through the entirety of what happened in the first and second book from Will's point of view, which is entirely unnecessary. It adds nothing. It's literally like rereading the first book with like little chapters of them being like, so what, when we went on our first date it was so nice, and him being like, yeah, I was so nervous, and she's like, oh my god, tell me about it. And then it's a whole chapter of the first date from Will's point of view, and it's literally so irrelevant. It's unnecessary because you gain nothing from hearing his perspective. He's annoying as well, so I don't want to hear his perspective. And yeah, was not a fan of this one either. So yeah, these were the 10 worst books that I've read in 2022. Do yourself a favour, do not read any of these. Some people are lying to you, telling you these are good, especially things I've got over Million Kisses in a Lifetime. Whoever's saying these are good is on something. I'm sorry. I mean, I obviously am joking because I like certain books that people find really cringe. So I cannot talk. But for me personally, I hated them and hated almost every single minute that I was reading them as well. But I have a weird completionist mentality and I cannot DNF things. But if I could DNF things, I probably should have DNF'd everything on this list. So yeah, these are my worst books I've read in 2022. Tune in, I believe in 2 days time, fingers crossed, I'll be doing my best books, which will be a much more positive video because there are some incredible books on that list. So yeah, overall, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, don't forget to give it a like down below, hit subscribe, turn on the bell to join a little club, and make sure to turn on all notifications, then you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. If you want to watch my other videos, there'll be 2 on the screen now to pick from, as well as a load linked up in the cards from earlier. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!